Okay, so what we're going to do now, we've sort of worked with a reflector, right, to sort of bounce light in. It's bright, right? You guys are like, it's killing me. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have Lex come over on this side. And you guys, if you can come over here. And this is, I'm just going to take a shot. And I'm going to switch back over now because of the way that the light isn't backlit. I'm going to switch back over to aperture priority mode at 4.5. And I'm going to just take a shot. And also look at my, I'm casting a shadow when I'm coming over here. So I have to be aware of that. This is where zoom lenses work very well. So I'm going to take a shot of Lex here. And this is going to come in, and we're going to see that we still have an exposure problem. We have a white balance problem as well. But this is a tiny bit underexposed, and we're going to explain that right after this. Why is this underexposed? The reason is this big white background, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to fix that. But Lex looks pretty good with hard light. But we want to get rid of that really nasty shadow. We want to soften this up a bit, and we may want to make this a lot more pleasing. So who is strong and wants to do this amazing thing? All right, it's you. You ready? Okay, so what we're going to do with this is called a California Sun Bounce. This is a translucent material. I think they called this a sun swatter. To swat the sun. So this also has a pole. And John, maybe you can get that pole. But for now, we're just going to hold this. And what we're doing is creating shade. See how we have shade on Lex? No shade, shade. And look what that just did for her. Yeah, you guys can zip around if you want to look. See what that did for her entire body? So this is head to toe shade. So we have that, hard light, soft light. So we're going to shoot this with this here. And we might even be able to, nope, you're going to have to lift it up. Going to have to lift it up. I know. It's not so light, is it? It is light, oh, okay.
Very light.
Cool. So on this, we're going to have to try to figure out how to get it up and over. There you go. So maybe you can hold right here. Yep. We can share. As long as she's in shade, we're going to have that nice soft light. And this is taking the light down by about a stop, maybe 2 stops. About half as much light over here. And so instantly what we've done is we have fixed her squintiness, and we have softened the light. And what we can also do is Lex come forward quite a bit. Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. There we go. By bringing her forward, what we're doing is now we're getting much more directional light, and we're increasing that catch light. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple pictures, one with her really close to this, and one with her far away. Because remember, the effective size of light matters no matter what. Okay, so light, very close. We have, in fact, I'm going to back up so I don't have you so distorted. Perfect, and now let's have you go back. There we go, that's good. And then we'll try to get this. Okay, these are very close shots, and you guys can put that down for a second. And then if you can zip over there, that'd be great. There, hello. So what we're going to show here, we're looking at 2 things. The direction of the light and the size of the light, how it affects the specular highlights. So this first shot here, this is a gorgeous shot. This is where the light was very, very close. And notice something here. We have the directional light is easy to see. We have this nice light fall off that comes over here. On the second shot here, this is where Lex was farther away, and we just don't have that directional quality of light that we would want to have. So it's not just enough to put this up and block the sun. We have to put it up and block it and get it into a position that shapes the light on your subject's face. And this is true. It doesn't matter if it's a person, a product, or anything. Don't ever forget about the effective size of light because it makes such a dramatic difference. The other thing that I'm going to show you is, and once you see this, you'll not be able to unsee it. But remember we talked about the shape of Lex's face? With the way that we lit, see how large this cheekbone is compared to this cheekbone? So when we look at her in normal life, they're the same size, but because of the way we lit, now when you look at it, this cheekbone looks much, much larger than this one. Can you see that? And so what we would need to do, being a model is so fun, right? Here's all the flaws that you have. What we would need to do is we would maybe have Lex turn her head just a little bit that way, because we want to really pay attention to what the light is doing to alter the shape of her face. Because in real life, she doesn't have a giant cheekbone on her left side, right? You can see she's got a normal face. But it's the way that our light was falling on her, it sort of distorted it. And once you see it, it looks obvious now, right? So that's something else that we have to really pay attention to, is what's going on with that cheekbone. What's going on with your cheekbone? It's crazy. So there's that. Okay, thank you guys. We have that. Oh, one more thing we have to do. Sorry. We didn't show this. We did not show this. This is just a larger white. And so if we were shooting more of a full body shot and we wanted to bounce light, we would use something like this instead of this small reflector that we had here. And the same thing is true of the silver. We can use the other side, which is a silver reflector. And that will give us much more light for a much greater distance. And again, our effective size changes. So that's why we have different sizes of reflectors and different silver and white and black and gold, because we can change the color and the specularity. Does that make sense? Okay, you guys have a seat. And Lex, you can have a seat. Now would be a great time if there are questions. There are questions?
Yes, there are.
Oh, of course there are questions. You guys have any questions?
I do.
Okay, let's hear your question.
When you are moving from the one with the very reflective versus the more white,
Yes.
when do you decide what to use? Which one to use in which situations?
It always depends on how specular you want those lights to be, those reflections. And so for me, if I'm shooting something that has to be really fashiony and more contemporary, I'm going to use the silver reflector, and that's usually a full body shot, like in an urban environment, and just, we're blasting a lot of light. I almost never use the silver reflector for butterfly light, which we're going to show you tomorrow. Or for portrait photography, because I want really nice soft light. So silver is, for me, is generally reserved for really hard specular, outdoor, fashion-y kind of work. But it really is up to the photographer. I know that there are, I believe Dixie Dixon, she's like a bikini fashion photographer on the location all the time. I think she shoots mainly with silver reflectors and gold. I'm not sure, but it changes based on what you're trying to accomplish. Yes?
I remember you said something about how you want, on a darker complexion, you want more specularity.
Yes.
Would that be around the body or basically just around the face? And whereabouts in the body or the face, other than
so
the eyes?
Tomorrow when we start shaping light with light modifiers from studio strobes, we'll show you some of those specular highlights, but specifically it's usually on the chin and on the cheekbones. And so for portrait photography, for other types of photography, it's the edges and the highlights where things protrude. And so let me see if I could find an example of this. If we had something like this, what we would, and you can see this in like motorcycle and car ads. Look at car ads. They use specular highlights a ton. They'll even add special lights that have long. Look at any nice car ad, and you'll see these lights that are reflected all along the body of the car. And you'll see that the edges of the product, whatever that product is, you'll have lots of strong backlight. And so what it's doing is it's really defining the shape. It's sort of like what we just did with Lex, where we had a light coming from behind to highlight her hair. Same type of thing. So with something like this that's got a lot of black in it, this, when you just shoot it as with light coming from the front, this is just going to look like a blob of blackness. And so to add some dimension to this, then we would add specular highlights to the edge of this, or maybe where this pops up so you can sort of see the features. It really depends on whatever the thing is that you're shooting. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to take something that's just a blob of shape and add the form to it, the three-dimensional work to it. One of the things that I have to work with models a lot is I have to inform them to not wear all black when they come to a photo shoot, especially for workshops, or all white. And there's two reasons for that. One is the metering is thrown completely off, which we're going to talk about. So there's that. And then the second thing is, if you don't have enough time to add all those specular highlights to show the shape, it just looks like a square. So people can have an amazing shape, a great outfit, and when you shoot it, you're square. And so we have to work around that. In fact, I think when we go to the street today, we're going to shoot with you have a long dark coat? Yeah, and so we'll be working with some specular highlights on that. That's a long answer, but does that help?
That really helps. I just have one tiny more question. When you shoot people that are two different complexions side to side, then you have to compensate and meter for each one of them, or how do you go about it?
That's pretty rare for me to have that situation, but in fact, I don't think I've ever had that situation. But if I did, I don't know. It depends on how much time I have and what the budgets and all that, those types of things are. But let's say I had somebody that was very dark complected and somebody that was pale. What I would have to do probably in that scenario is light them individually as a group. And so what we can do is we can use soft boxes with grids and hard lights with grids. And what the grids do, and we're going to show this tomorrow, is it takes the light and it makes it very specific. You can say, only go 5 degrees from here. And so that's where the light shaping really comes in, where you can really, really affect that stuff. But probably if I had a dark and light complected couple or people, what I would do is I have this setup where I have 2 lights coming from behind that highlight the cheeks, and 1 giant umbrella from the front that gives this sort of high key, very bright, fluffy, and that looks great for both complexions. So that's probably what I would try to do in that situation. But I don't know, I'd have to see what those people look like. Okay, internet questions or more questions here? You direct. Oh, yes. Yes.
I would like to know, maybe there's some photographers out there too who don't have assistants to hold reflectors or flags, and they're just out there in natural light shooting. Do you have any tips or tricks for them?
Yeah,
in natural
so
light?
I do. Find a friend that will hold your reflector. I would say if it's just not possible, there are some things that you can do. For example, all these things that we have, you can mount them to light stands. The problem is then you have to put sandbags on them because they're going to blow over and it's really difficult to adjust. If you don't have an assistant to help you, you're going to work at maybe a quarter of the speed as you would if you just had somebody helping out. So I look at those types of things in terms of return on investment. And so I think if I'm going to go and shoot for fun, then I can just deal with not having an assistant and putting things on light stands, and that's just the way it is. But if I was at a paid shoot, and let's say somebody was paying me, and not very much, but let's say it's a senior portrait or something, and then maybe they have $200 to spend, something like that. What I would do is I would either increase that price to maybe $250 and find any high school student or somebody that needed it, because it doesn't take a lot of skill to hold a reflector and umbrella. If you just learn a few things, you can direct somebody, almost anybody, to do that job. And it's going to be faster than trying to do it yourself. And I would guess that you could find a teenager at least for $25 or something to do that job for an hour or so. And then what you'll have happen is you'll get more photos that are usable to sell to your client, and in less time you'll make more money because you're more efficient with that. You'll sell more proofs, and you're going to make that $25 or $50 that you invested, you'll make it back right away. And then what will happen is you'll get more business, and you can get there. But it's not very much money to hire somebody to just hold it. It's not like a digital assistant where you have to pay them a lot of money. They have to know medium format stuff and capture and that stuff. It's just hold this. So yeah, you should be able to find somebody, or go to if you haven't been a member of a photo club in your community, find one. And there's going to be some photographer that would love to help hold an umbrella or a reflector to figure it out. Yeah, there's going to be somewhere. Somebody's going to help you. Yeah.
Tips and tricks is find an assistant.
Yes, find an assistant. That's my answer. All right. What other questions do we have?
I always like Val, we call them around here, Val's voice-activated light stand.
Yes, voice-activated light stand.
So, Mark, we have a couple people wanting to know a little bit from Bruce and Anoop Dubai, about how you deal with color temperature when you're changing from the silver to the white. Do you redo your color checker, or?
Yeah, so absolutely, and it depends on the quality of the material. So California Sunbounce is very high quality stuff. Profoto is known for calibrating their materials to get neutral colors, but a lot of reflectors intentionally add gold to to warm up the photo. And so what I do, if possible, shoot raw and then adjust in post. But do the same thing. Get either a color checker initial white balance with the light modifier in it, the diffusion or the bounce, or make sure that you get that color checker passport with that. Yeah, you always want to do your color balance, your white balance, with the actual light that you're shooting in. So absolutely, yes.